everybody. Welcome to the Biblical Brawlers podcast, where we teach the truth and unteach the garbage. Well, I'm John Whitaker.
And I'm Derek Drury, and we are the pastors of New Day Christian Fellowship, and that is a church right in the heart of the inner city of Springfield, Ohio. Now, the Biblical Brawlers podcast is a tool that we've put together to help the church to learn what God is really saying in His Word. We aim to bring out the true context of the Bible as a whole in order to aid in dissolving the great confusion that is going on today in the midst of the body of Christ.
We're not here to fight against people per se, but we are here to fight for the truth and rightly divide the Word of God, as it says we must do in 2 Timothy 2:15.
And with that said, we are going to slow it down for the doctrinal couples dance tonight and sway our way through the theological boogie time for today's topic.
Let's just move on.
Okay. Moving right along. So what is today's topic, John?
Yeah, today is Lazy Brawlers topic. Yeah, we don't have a topic. We're just we're gonna kind of talk and see where things go. Just kind of share just a little more insight into who we are. We know quite a few people that listen to our podcast know us, but not everybody does. So they don't know our history. They don't know our our testimony, where we've been, where we've came from, kind of what shaped us. So we'll just kind of just see where it goes.
Mm-hmm. There are times where we say we don't have anything to talk about tonight, but tonight we really mean that. Mm-hmm. And we just thought that we would turn on the microphones and just talk tonight.
It's like kind of a therapy session. So I'm gonna get back on my couch and you can ask away, try to make me cry.
Man, that could have been a good tagline from the beginning.
There you go.
Missed opportunity, right? They're going to have to wait like a year before I use that, so people forget. Man. So where do we begin, man? What's up?
Well, so how did we meet?
How did we meet? Just the other day.
If you haven't heard the story, it's one of Derek's favorites.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Well, I'll tell it since I tell it way better than you.
Yeah, you
do.
Tell it.
And I don't embellish at all in it.
No.
So, but it is another story of how God perfectly lines things up and shapes our destiny and has our future all mapped out for us. And His plans are so much greater than ours. Even at times that we're going through hurt, He has bigger plans for us. So kind of what happened with us is previous church we went to, there was just a lot of hurt there, and without going into detail on that, it was time for us to as a family. We had just had Addie. She was like 6 months old, and we just realized that the fellowship that we were at wasn't for us. So we decided, hey, let's start looking for something different. Let's leave this church, start looking for a new one. So we left, and actually my grandparents recommended Restoration Park Church for us to go there. And because they had known people there for a long time. But it was
Lake Avenue back then.
Yeah, Lake Avenue back then. Because this was, Addie's 12, so this was about 11 years ago. So we decided to go visit that church, and we visited. Loved like the first service that we were there. We loved it. We there was this real cute worship leader up front with long hair and earrings, and and that was actually Derek. And so we're like we were
long time ago,
right? Yeah. So we were there and really pumped up for that first service, and we're like, oh man, this is awesome. Like we really felt God moving, and it's like, oh, maybe this is our home. And at the end of the service, Randy Warner got up and said this was actually Derek's last Sunday, because he felt called to go to another church. So that kind of piqued our interest. Like, well, we're leaving a church, and there's a a new church plant. Maybe this is something we can get on board with. And so I kind of waited around and was going to go up and talk to Derek. And I kept waiting because everybody was hugging Derek, and Derek was crying, and it was just, and I was like, man, I don't want to go up to a crying man that I've never.
It was a lot of dust in the air that morning. It was,
yeah. I mean, there is debates whether he was actually crying or not, but from my vantage point, I thought he was crying. I thought it was an emotional day.
I probably was.
And so actually, I don't even know how we knew, or someone must have told us that. Your wife was there. She was kind of in the background, Pam. So I just went up and had a brief conversation with her, and she got us hooked up with the new pastor of what would soon be Legacy, and that's kind of where it all started. And we just, I mean, from day one, it was kind of funny. We were the first visitors of Legacy, and we say Legacy. Later on down the road, we transitioned to New Day, changed the name, so it's one and the same. But that's kind of where, I mean, God intersected our paths, and I wouldn't say the rest is. I guess the rest is history, but like we've been, I mean, best buds ever since. Doing life together, doing church together. A lot of peaks and valleys, and hard times and good times, and watched our kids grow up, and well, mine aren't grown up yet. You got more of the grown up kids than I do, but watching your kids grow up and get married and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, quite a road, man. Just from that meeting, that the world would say chance meeting. Well, we know it was a God ordained meeting, but it's just funny how that all was set up in motion like that, and here we are. The two of us that didn't know each other at all end up, pastoring a church together.
Right.
And and that time was a very emotional day. Pam and I were leaving that church after 12 years of being there. I was a worship leader there for 10 years, and a deacon for a year and a half or so. And Pam had done all kinds of stuff, behind the scenes there, including, the nursery and the children's church and serving in just all kinds of ways. And so it was a big deal. We were committed there, it was family. And so when we left after, which was another story in itself, because, the pastor of that Legacy church that was starting that church, he came to me for 10 months and kept saying, Derek, I need you. I want you to come and be my worship minister. And I kept saying, no, I don't feel like I'm supposed to do that right now. I don't know that I'm supposed to do that. And so I'm going to wait. And so 10 months, finally one day it was like, okay, we're supposed to leave. We're supposed to go and start this.
But in a little bit, it's just the way that God works out things. So we were running from the previous church that we were like, let's get it. Like, we're ready to go. Like, our bags are packed. Like, we're looking, and then like you had to be dragged. So like just the different ways that, that God pulls us together for his glory.
Yeah. And how cool it is that I said no for 10 months. We would have never met. Well, unless God had another, whatever, but if it had not drugged my feet on that for 10 months and so, that's how we met. And then we had about 4 years, I guess, were we Legacy Church?
Yeah.
About 4 years. And, another story right in that situation, bam, right out of the blue. The pastor said, I'm out.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yep. I'm moving out of the way. It's your turn.
Yeah.
Ready or not. Yeah. Here you go.
Exactly. I told him I was going to kick his butt. I was mad at him. They ain't happening. You're kidding me. This is no way. Absolutely not. But it happened.
I still remember the day we found out. It was, whatever year it was April 1st, and Jesse called and told me, and at first we were like, oh no, this isn't happening. No. And then it hit me like a light, like they got us good. Yeah. They got us. April Fool's joke. Like I 100%. Jesse's like, no, I don't. I was like, no. 100%. Yeah. If you know Derek goes all in on his April Fool's jokes or pranks or getting back at me for. Yeah.
And here I am. So 8 years later, still haven't. Right. Still, we're still going on it.
Yeah. So man,
2 more years. I'll really be like April Fool. I'm all in on this one, buddy.
April Fool's decade.
Yeah, that's right. Oh man. Yeah, and what was really surprising was that it was very out of the blue. It was suddenly, and that church, like we were really picking up momentum. Mm-hmm. There was really a lot going on and happening, and we're really growing. And boom! I mean, there was nothing. There was no build up to it, no warning, and he and I were on our way. Actually, he would pick me up from my house, and we were going to go see one of the women in the congregation that had cancer and was dying, and we went to visit her in the hospital. We're not in the car for 5 minutes. I don't even think it was 2 or 3 minutes. He's like, "Hey, I got to tell you something." He just comes out and says, "I believe God's raising you up to be the pastor of this church, and I'm stepping out." And I was like, yeah, whatever. Don't ever say that again. He's like, "No, I'm serious." And it took him a few minutes to convince me that he was telling the truth. And then I was angry. Like, you didn't even wait until we visited. So now I'm mad the whole time where I'm like processing all of this. You could have at least waited till we got home after this trip to Columbus, an hour away and all that. I got to sit in the car with this guy. So that was quite something. That was quite something.
Yeah, and then, I guess we can talk about this now too, like how we ended up where we're at now. Mm-hmm. Which that's a whole, how much time we got, but we'll give the cliff notes of that one. But so we were meeting in Emmanuel Christian in their gym. No, not their gym, their cafeteria. And so we were. You don't want to go all in the history, but for a long time we were just a nomad church, like going from one home to another. One place would get moldy, or one place would get torn down, or whatever. So we have to
literally
move and so we were at Emmanuel, and we get a call from the executive director of at the time the Children's Rescue Center, and she was like, "Hey, I really think your church will be a good fit back on this campus," which is actually where we started at 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. We're here about a year, left, nomaded around. Mm-hmm. And she called me. She goes, I really think that like your heart is meant for this community. And we're like, yes, like we're like, that's exactly where we want to go. And so you'd think the story would end there, like we moved in, and that's what.
But we jumped in,
right? We told the congregation we were moving. We had the keys. We were ready to go. Literally, like what, a week or two before we were going to move.
10 days.
Yeah. And
not that I was counting, but 10 days before.
Yeah, we get a phone call from I guess the executive director, and she's just like, "Hey, we got a board meeting. We just want you to come share your heart and about your church coming here." And we're like, "Okay, cool. That's no problem. Let's do that." And so the elders, you and I, a couple of others, we show up, and we kind of start sharing our heart, but then we start realizing, something else is
tough crowd,
right? Something else is going on here. Yeah. Apparently, other people on the board, they had other plans for a church coming in and partnering, and so we're like, hold on a second,
so you changed your mind.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened. They changed their mind, and we're like, no, and we were really, really. You go from come on in and share your heart to actually we have something to tell you. Like that was man, we just keep getting blindsided.
Yes.
It was really something
Hmm.
for a few years there, a couple years, and so we left that meeting kind of just reeling, just
Mhm.
not knowing what on earth.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think it was the biggest. It was anger, right?
Yeah,
Like I mean,
we
we
were
were
angry.
we were ready to fight. We're like we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight. Like we're staking our claim. Like,
Yeah. I
you
said,
might have the final say, but
yeah.
like,
I said, do you realize what you've done? You have taken a wrecking ball
right?
to an already limping along
Yeah.
church that has been poked in the eye and kicked and spat on, and
Mhm.
you just took a wrecking ball to us. And like, I'm sorry, and so that was extremely tough. So we prayed and prayed and prayed, and I won't go into all the details about meetings and that kind of thing that weren't allowed to happen necessarily. But we prayed and prayed and prayed and just cried out to God about it. We were like, man, now we really, really, really are supposed to be there. We just knew it.
Mhm.
It wasn't just like, I feel like, like we hear a lot. And well, what are you going to say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah. I mean, we were like you said, we were praying. Like we were like even different families at different times were coming down to the campus and like walking the four
Yeah.
corners of the property and praying and it really we were upset. We were. I mean, I wouldn't even say confused because even after they said no, I think we all were still like, this is where we're supposed to be. Like,
Yeah,
and
like
we're
y'all don't
gonna-
know it, but we know
right?
it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I know you guys are the board, but I mean, God is God, and he's
Mhm.
and so what? I mean, was it a year, 2 years?
It was
Like,
a year,
a year, yeah.
like right at a year.
Hmm. So yeah, so we just and we were still praying. I mean, I wouldn't say that we were like coming down here every day and praying the corners, but we were still praying.
We were
Like we were still thinking, like we still feel called to this community. This
We were trying to figure out how to get over to this side of town now.
yeah, that's right. We were visiting other empty churches
Yeah.
and empty buildings and
Yep.
and seeing what other opportunities there were, and we didn't really pursue anything with the board anymore until just one day out of the blue, you got a phone call.
Yeah, I did. I got a phone call out of the blue from the chairman of the board, the same one that had crushed us a year ago, and said, "Could you have lunch?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll have lunch with you." And to his credit, and I give him a lot of credit for this, and he said, "Derek, I got to eat a lot of crow here, but everything fell through what was supposed to happen on our plan, and we really need to ask you guys if you would still be interested in moving onto the campus. But the slight change would be, instead of meeting in the gym, you would now meet in the church that's empty out front that we own." And so instantly inside, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
and I said, well, on the outside, I said, well, let me talk to the guys and see what they say. And so cool, we did, and everybody was like, yep, that's what we're doing, and so we did. We got the keys for real, and we
Got to keep him this time.
got to keep them this time. We met in that gym for 6 months while we fixed this place up, because the sanctuary was nice, but the basement was filled with black mold, and it took 6 months for us to, there's some contractors in the church, and we eradicated everything and did it properly, but it was a slow and methodical process.
Yeah, that's another story in itself too. Because at one point, like, oh, we'll get down there. It won't take us too long. We get down there. We has a black mold. We get someone like some professionals to come and like, yeah, it'll be about $30,000 to get the mold out of there. And we're like, yeah, we don't have that.
Yeah.
Like,
We're like, nope.
Yeah,
We got a better idea.
Right. So we
it's
just
gonna
kinda-
take longer,
Yeah.
but we got this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even the equipment and everything, we have the connections. We had the connections with people that just really allowed us to use their equipment, and I mean, we saved 30 grand. It was really, really quite amazing how God set this whole thing in motion. And so now we've been here in this building, over on West High Street, 1023 West High Street, Springfield, Ohio, if you're wondering
Right.
where we're at. We're kind of off the beaten path,
Right.
and people don't know exactly where we're at all the time. But that's where we're at, yeah. And it's really been something, and we have been through a lot. We've been through a whole lot as a little church. But man, God has He's really kept us going in mighty ways. There's
there's been a lot of times where like, what is going on? And he shows up in the only way that God can, in just miraculous ways.
Yeah.
And just like even the story we just told, like, we weren't ready at the time, obviously, and so God had other plans, and he worked it out, and then he had a better plan than what what we were even dreaming up in our heads. And that's what he continues to do. He continues to keep us afloat. He keeps us afloat as a church, as families, he's God. It's amazing. We're just, so blessed that he chooses us to be part of his plan.
Yeah. In the past, there's been a few times where we thought we were going to have to shut the doors just because of finances, and we are a very meek and frugal church in those ways, and so it was like, well, we were starting to kind of warn the congregation a couple times. Remember that? And we're like, guys, just to let you kind of know what's going on, be transparent. Hey, it ain't looking so good. Yeah. See you next week, hopefully. And man, God would just come on in and do something else and something else and something else, to where we just stopped even questioning it anymore. If the bank account got down to $100, we'd be like, that don't matter.
Yeah, it's fine.
It doesn't matter. It's fine. And it really has been. It's been amazing, man. It's been amazing. Now, that is not to say that it's been easy,
right?
Because it has been the most difficult thing that some of us have ever done.
Yeah,
it's been a very difficult ride.
Yep. Yeah, it's hard to put into words how equally difficult, but at the same time just rewarding and fulfilling. But like in the midst of heartache and trials, and every church goes through it, but you always feel it, like when it's your church, you feel like you go through it more than everybody else,
Right.
But like, yeah, we have just been through so much as a church, as a church body together, as families, individuals. We've seen a lot of loss, even in the, I think one of the, at least for me, some of the hardest losses have been the connections that we've made within this community, that we've seen a lot of loss of, people that are like getting their lives back on track and really giving it to God, and then, falling off that wagon, or, and succumbing to their addictions. It's not just one, two. We have a lot of stories of, people that we've death that we've shared hugs with, tears with, like prayers with, praying for, and they didn't make it out. Well, I still think that one day we're gonna see him in heaven. But at the same time, it's been hard.
Yeah, we have seen. When we say we're in the heart of the inner city in the intro every week, that's where we are. We are in the heart of the inner city of Springfield, Ohio, and Springfield is there are good areas and there are bad areas, and the Lord has protected us as a church, and he will continue to do that as long as it's his will. But in the midst of it, man, we have seen more death in these 6 years that we've been in this building here on this campus here, than most churches see that are bigger congregations and have more people, like we have seen a lot of death because of drugs and alcohol and addiction, and even people freezing to death. There are some real brutal stories, man. I think of the one, man, I remember Shane You know, man, we got him into a program that was a biblical program where the men go and live for a year. It's a rehab. They live there. I mean, it's run really well. They're fed. They're taken care of. And 3 months into that program, I went down there to preach a couple hours away at this facility and saw Shane. Couldn't wait to see him. You know, man, he looked different than I've ever seen him before. Looked so good, so healthy, and all he kept just saying was, you know, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we're like, hey, man, thank the Lord. He's the one that's done this, you know, and doing this work, and you know, he's praising the Lord and all this. And man, then what? Like the next day, like he just couldn't handle it anymore. A couple of days later, he was gone. He ran. He escaped from the place, and within a week or so, overdosed. And then they found him dead in a shed here in Springfield, here in Springfield. He somehow got a ride. And that was devastating. You know, then there's, I mean, we could go on and on and on with stuff, with stories of people that we have fallen in love with, you know, and then they really just like regulars at the church and just, oh, he's talking about the Lord, and then boom, they give back, they give in. And what people don't realize is that once you've been off of stuff for a while, once you go back, you think you can hit that hard again, and that's what kills people so often. Yeah, you know, and we've seen it over and over again.
Yeah, yeah. Even literally the very first people we ministered to in this community, at least this time around, is we were actually. It was in the middle of winter. We started. It was just a work Saturday, I think. We were there on a Saturday, just a group of us, and a couple came in literally off the streets to get warm because they were freezing.
Yep.
Yeah. And
we're all down there painting in the basement.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, can we just come in and get warm? And, you know, they started coming to church, getting involved. I mean, coming to Wednesday night things. And, you know, and eventually, yeah, they lost their battle as well. So like you said, we're in the heart of it. We see it. But ultimately we know, we can't necessarily see it while we're in it, but we know God is going to get glory through this. God is through everything, that even there's the good things that have already happened that we already see, that like God is getting praise and glory, but there's also the rough things that we've been through. Like I'm still not seeing this one. I trust you that
this one's gonna take a minute.
Right. I trust you that one day it'll my eyes will be open, be like, oh, yeah, you know, right. like you know, we'll have those moments, but there's still sometimes it's like I trust you, God. That's what you know, that's why we do this. This is why we do this podcast, is so we can know that we can stand on the word and stand on the truth. And that's what gives us the strength and the confidence to get through these hard times of, you know, when we think things are dire or we don't know why things are happening the way they are, we can trust him. Like we don't buy into a false prosperity gospel that says that there's health and wealth if we're faithful. No, like God is faithful because he is God, and we just have to trust him.
Yeah. And that's where the prosperity gospel, as you just said, it doesn't fit, because what we need to see is that he's good even when we're not prosperous in the ways of the world. You know, we need to see that God is good all the time. Even in these difficult and devastating situations that we're talking about, we see, even though we don't see everything and understand, we see through the glass darkly. We see at least God. We have our faith that is set upon him to where we go, okay, Lord, well, it's not like we go, well, that's it, Lord, God, let this happen. I don't believe anymore. I'm mad at God. And a lot of people do that. We just keep holding on to him. No matter what, we just keep running back to him, and we hold on tighter and tighter, you know. And we have seen great things as well. We have seen great things as well. It all just comes with the territory. Yep. You know, it comes with the territory of ministry, period, and then it comes with the territory with being an inner city. But we have seen some great things, and we've really developed a wonderful relationship with this community of people, and we love them all. And no matter what, you know, and we get we get some situations sometimes with people, and
Yeah.
and but man, we love this community.
Mhm.
We love these
Yeah,
people.
and I think, or I know, and they love us too. That's the
Mhm.
cool seeing
Yeah.
God work. And yes, I would love to say that all of our neighbors come to church every
Mhm.
Sunday, and there's but
They'll tell you,
yeah, right,
I'll be
yeah.
there Sunday.
Yep. But
No.
we do have, like, we know them by name. They
Yeah.
know us. They respect us.
They
I mean, they really
reach out to
do.
us for,
Yep.
and
Mhm.
and sometimes we have to tell them, hey, look, I love you, but you only reach out when you need something.
Mhm.
How about you reach out just when you don't,
Yeah.
but we've developed a relationship with so many people in the community that we could say that even, and
Mhm.
they'd be like, I know you're right,
Yeah.
for the most part, that relationship continues on, and the bond, grows stronger. Some people get offended and be
Mhm.
like, man, take me off your list. I don't want to talk to you no
Yeah.
more. And that's just a part
Mm.
that's a part of this life, part
Mhm.
of being in this world.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I mean, we haven't even broached the subject of our meal ministry. I think that can be a whole nother podcast in
Yeah.
itself.
Hmm.
Tell the story of how that came about and lives that have been changed and the way God is just. I mean, there's just no words to to lift up God for what He's done in a meal ministry that we had no plans and no intentions of
Yeah.
developing. He did it all on His own.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
let's talk about it. I mean,
Right.
yeah, because it's true. How long have we been going so far?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. Hey,
All right.
let's go another 45
All
right
right.
now. No. But that is one of those amazing. So 'cause we weren't even thinking meals.
No, not.
That wasn't, and then if we did, we didn't know how to start that.
Mm-mm.
We knew how to take bread to people's houses because that was another thing.
Oh, right.
The
Yeah,
whole bread thing. When we first got
I totally
here,
forgot about that.
there was a guy that would come around every week that worked at one of the bread stores, and he would just bring in a truckload of bread and bagels and like all kinds of sweet things and treats and
Yeah.
stuff. And then Sunday after church, we would all disperse throughout the neighborhood and knock on doors, and that's how we originally got to know people in this
Mhm.
community, was knocking
Yeah.
on those doors and just saying, hey, here's some bread from New Day Christian Fellowship. We had a little sticker printed up that said, man shall not live on bread alone, but by
Mhm.
every word that proceeds from the Father's mouth. And really we got to know people that way. And that went on for like 6 months, man.
Yeah,
Or
it was a
it
good
was
while.
a
Yeah,
long time. And
which yeah,
so
which I don't know if sad's the word, but like you said, I completely forgot about that. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, it's been so, but yeah,
Yeah.
that was just another thing that God. I mean,
perfect timing.
right?
And that really got us out there. It not, they got to get our name out there, but got us out there in the community,
Mhm.
and got us knowing the community, and got the community knowing us, and that was really, really cool, man. I love that happened, and it was for a time, and then it stopped. I think the bread guy died. I think that's what happened, something like that. And well, then this mill ministry came along. A pastor that I know called me up and said, hey, I got a friend that has run mill ministries for 30 years. I'd like you to come and meet with her and her husband, and let's see about if you might make a connection and they can meet in the basement of your church. And okay.
Yeah. And we were kind of like, yeah, we'll meet, but we don't have the resources, the people
Yeah.
I mean, we'll help in what ways we can, but at this point, we really don't even have a body
Mhm.
we have a body, but not that's able to like support a meal ministry.
Right. Yeah. We didn't know what to do,
Mhm.
But it was like after the meal, I was like, well, let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. And for a year and a half, we went strong with this couple really just leading the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean,
this woman
provided tables, chairs.
Yeah,
and, I mean,
cooked every meal, cooked a
Mhm.
lot. She knew what she was doing. They knew
Yeah.
what they were doing together. Well, he knew what she told him to do. Like
Right.
most,
Yeah.
like you do this, you do, and he's like, yep. And that was great. And then eventually, about a year and a half in or whatever, they had to leave and had another opportunity to go somewhere else and to some apartments. And we were like, oh man, what do we do?
Yeah, and that was another one of those things. And them leaving, we totally understood. They got called, but it was another one of those times like, we were completely caught off guard. They're like, yeah, hey, we're moving, and it's
In 2
like,
weeks?
yeah, it's like in 2 weeks. Yeah, and
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah, and so we're like reeling, like, hey, we've started like building these relationships. Like, there's no way we can't run a meal ministry. Like I mean, I still remember, like, you're like, well, no, we can cook hot dogs every week. Like, you're like,
Yeah. Like, I'll roll a grill out,
right.
and it was Jessie,
Yeah.
your wife, that was like, nope, we're going to figure this out.
Yeah.
We're going to do it. And, man, we've gone for another 3.5 years or so, I think, or 3 years or whatever. And, again, not easy. It's hard. And now actually might even get a little bit harder for a little bit until we figure some other things out, but we're still doing it. We're still going. And God is he's always just right there.
Yeah. And even in that, like, it's like still to this day, I mean, yes, it's New Day's meal ministry, but like, we're such a small part of it. Like, it's opened up opportunities to partner with other ministries, with other churches. Other churches have blessed us so much, with manpower, financially. Like, I mean, you just can't even begin to say just the way that, like, churches have came together, other organizations have come together, and we're kind of spearheading it, but like, it's really just like, just hold on to your seats. Like, we're just along for the ride. Like,
yeah, because I mean, it's been really cool. Each Tuesday, another team from another place, another church or ministry comes in and serves each month on that particular Tuesday. And we have one particular Tuesday or two maybe now, but we're always here as well, which has been another good way to get to know, people in these other ministries. It's just been really, really neat. It's hard work, and everything is. Every ministry, man, whatever you do and you care about and is worth it, it's always hard work. I mean, you don't do things just because they're going to be easy, but sometimes you don't realize how hard they're going to be.
Right.
But you jump in and you do it, and you just, you see, okay, we can do this with the Lord's help. We can do this with the Lord's help, and He has really spurred us on to keep going.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, like you said, it's been one amazing story after the other, and like we said, we've also had our valleys and our trials, and but like you talked about, like, we trust in God that even in the trials, like, we still have faith, we still trust, we still believe, we still love Him because He is God. We don't love God because He gives us the peaks. We love God because also because He sees us through the valleys. Like, He is always with us. He is always there with us. He is our rock. He is what we stand on.
Yeah, He truly is. He truly is, and He should be with every church. Every church should. They should really take. I believe churches ought to struggle, at least for a while, and they ought to have periods where they struggle. I think we all ought to in our lives, and I think that the church is just an example of how it is in the Christian life. Period. We're going to struggle. We're going to have those mountains and valleys, and oftentimes it's going to seem like there's more valleys than mountains, and oftentimes you're climbing up from the valley or you're heading down from the mountain peak, but and I believe that there are often times where the seasons of rest are few and far between, and they're short. But man, somehow, like, when you just keep looking to God in faith, He just will keep you going. If you don't depend upon your own, your own strength, your own will, but if you will let those things die, and just say, Lord, I just throw myself before You, and this is what we have done a lot, and lots of tears through the years, and will
sad
be
ones,
more
happy ones.
Yep, sad ones, happy ones, and there will be more. One thing I will say, though, is that little churches like ours, you walk in, we have a big, beautiful sanctuary. People are shocked when they walk in and they see our sanctuary, and they're like, "Oh my goodness!" And it's just like what it's always been. Like, this is how we got it. It's not like we put thousands of dollars into the sanctuary, because we didn't have it. We don't have that. But if people would realize that every church struggles in different ways, and small churches really struggle in some big ways and need good, godly people to come into those doors and stay, not just sit for, one Sunday and be like, "Oh man, I like a bigger worship band," or just the silly little preferential things. I don't like the color of the carpet. It's not, it's nauseating or whatever, but honestly, New Day Christian Fellowship, we need folks. We need godly people to come in and join a church and want to work, and not have these grand, amazing expectations. Like we've lost people before. We serve in huge ways. We serve so big. And they just went on and on and on about it. And we were just like, and I'm just like, well, sorry, we can't offer the King's Island of churches for you to serve at, and this is what we've got. And if you can't help, and they're like, we're just going to leave. And it was like, okay, fine. After 9 months, it's like people will come for a while and they're like, but it's hard work. And it's not the way I thought it was going to look. I'd rather just go blend in somewhere. It's either that or we really, really serve much bigger ways. Yeah. It's like, folks, this is the church. We are the church, and we are to serve each other and to serve anyone that we can. And it is not usually going to look the way you think it's going to look.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really think that's definitely something that I've learned over the last 11 years, is that it's just not like, and especially like when you surrender that to God, like there's so much freedom in that. Like, and there's like, and you don't do it to get blessings back, but there is. Like with the meal ministry, like my wife taking like that, or our wife taking like they didn't do it because they thought they were getting blessings back. Like they were like, okay, God, you've laid this in our path. There's no one else to do it. We're gonna step up and do it. And God has just blessed us so much with the relationships, with the people, and people still like look at people that are like are New Day in their meal ministry, like, oh wow, look at the amazing work you're doing. Like look, no, that's all God. Like, I mean, yes, we're like super blessed and super happy to be part of it.
Yes.
And there's a lot of times where people are like, yeah, I love what you're doing. I just don't have a heart for that. Like, look, we didn't have a heart for it either. Like we're like,
he had to give us the heart for it,
And I was just like, hey, this is what I call you to do. I call you to love and serve, and I'm not asking you how you want to love and serve, but this is what I'm giving New Day. This is what I'm giving you guys to be able to love and serve. And like, we're like, okay, this is what you give us. And all right.
Yeah. We always say, as we wind down here, we don't have bells and whistles. We have one bell that's broke. It literally is an old time like Liberty Bell on top of the church, and the rope broke, and we'll get that fixed one day.
Right.
But we have no whistles. Whistles are annoying anyway. But we don't have all the frills and all that, but we have what we have. We have people that want to come and hear the word of God. We teach the word of God in context. We teach it truthfully. We don't mess around with going to extra biblical sources. We stick to the word, and that is what we do in this podcast as well. And we enjoy helping other people to see that is the way it should be in the church as well. We essentially, part of this life, most of this life is a battle.
Mhm.
It's a fight. And we know that the battle is the Lord's. And so we fight on our knees, giving it to him every single day.
Yep.
And that is how we brawl.
Look at I like how you brought that all together. Biblical brawlers, man.
Segue genius,
right?
John.
Look, man, did you plan that?
Yeah,
Like all from the beginning?
Can we just marinate on that for a bit?
We're just kidding. Like, we actually knew what we were going to talk about today. Like, that was all planned from the beginning, just so we can get to that line right there.
That's right. That's right. That's right. No, but you got any closing thoughts, John?
No, just we love you guys. We love this podcast. We love talking to you, bringing the word to you. So I'll plug again our podcast. So the last couple of weeks we've started a couple extra tools. So like on Mondays we have Brawlers in the Word, which is just short little 5 to 10 minutes, just kind of study time, devotional time, where we take like a scripture or two, dig into it just a little bit, pray over it. So that's something you can carry with you. Wednesday, we have our Biblical Brawlers, like our main podcast, which is what you're listening to now. Those get released on Wednesday. And then Friday, we have our Biblical Brawlers Sermon Edition, which right now you're working your way through Matthew and the genealogies.
Yep, the genealogy of Christ as listed in Matthew chapter 1.
Yeah.
Yes.
So those are just tools to come alongside you, to help you in your journey with Christ, to dig into the Word, to right, like we say at the beginning, to rightly divide the Word of God.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So with all that said, remember, any fool
can be a worldly brawler,
but it takes a wise man to be a biblical brawler. And we do. We love you guys. God bless you.